Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Cooking with Plants. My name is Kelly Wilson, and I am a registered dietitian with the Lifestyle Medicine Department here at Trinity Health. If you joined us last month, you got to see inside my home kitchen, and this month we are here at our Trinity Health Ann Arbor location in our teaching kitchen, and this is where most of our classes will be streamed to you live from. For those of you who are not familiar with our lifestyle medicine program, we really focus on disease treatment, reversal, and prevention through 6 key pillars. Nutrition is a strong foundation of lifestyle medicine, and we focus on plant-forward dietary patterns, which is what we talk about in this class. We also talk to folks about how they're moving their body, sleeping, connecting well with other folks, avoiding risky substances, and we talk about supportive stress management techniques. So if you're interested in learning more about lifestyle medicine and those other pillars outside of this class, feel welcome to email lifestylemedicine@trinity-health.org, and we can send you information on our classes. I also have a slide at the end of class that has our website on it and all the information about our programs that explore all the other pillars are listed there as well. So tonight, because this is Cooking with Plants, we are cooking with plants, and we are going to focus on low equipment meals. So if you have ever been short on time or energy, or maybe you are having a trip coming up where you're traveling and you need to stay in a hotel, or you just have limited access to equipment or a kitchen space, all of these meals that we are going to talk about are good for fitting all of those scenarios and situations. So hopefully by the end of tonight's class, you have a few ideas for how to put together some shelf-stable items into delicious meals that don't require a lot of time or equipment. A few housekeeping things to get us started. If you would like closed captions for our conversation today, you can find those by going to the 3 dots at the top toolbar. You'll see a bunch of icons at the top of your screen. There are 3 dots that say More. Hover over that. A drop-down menu will come up that says Language and Speech. Click on that, and then you can click on Turn on Live Captions from there. If you have questions, I would love to hear your questions. You can use the chat bubble. So again, look at that top toolbar and you'll see a little word bubble that says chat underneath of it. Click on that. You can type in your question or your comment, and I will do my best to pay attention to that during class and make sure we get those questions answered. And we already have our first question of the night, and yes, this class can be shared with anybody outside of Trinity. So we welcome anybody anywhere to tune in to these classes, either live or by watching the recordings. So when you get the email with this recording, feel welcome to share it with anybody and feel welcome to share the class registration with anybody that you know. All right, so the Q&A is working. We know that. That's great. Feel welcome to drop additional questions in there that are relevant to our topic tonight and to our whole group. If you have something that is more specific to you and the condition that you're trying to manage with these nutrition changes, please email us at lifestylemedicine@trinity-health.org. Happy to answer your questions or happy to connect you with folks who can answer those questions for you. If you are a Trinity Health colleague and you're joining us, I'm so excited that you're here. You do get 250 points towards keeping our insurance premiums low just by participating in this class. And that goes for any of you who are watching the recording of this session. You still get those points. Again, email lifestylemedicine@trinity-health.org, and I'll make sure you get those points and the instructions for how to redeem the code. I always like to remind folks that our classes, these Cooking with Plants classes, I'm going to provide a lot of general nutrition information. And if you have a specific health condition that you're trying to manage, especially if you were newly diagnosed with that health condition, it's really important that you speak to your physician and a registered dietitian to understand the specific nutrition changes that are needed for you to effectively manage that condition. And if you don't have a registered dietitian, you're gonna know this email by the end of class because I've said it so many times. But if you don't have a dietitian, you can email lifestylemedicine@trinity-health.org, and we're happy to help you connect with one. That being said, most of the foods that we talk about in this class are safe and health promoting for anybody to consume. We know these plant foods promote health. That's why we focus on them in this class. So don't be afraid of these foods, but just make sure that you're having conversations with your care team about any nutrition changes that you're making. If you're new to plant-forward eating, this class is a great way for you to dip your toe in the water because we're talking about some really easy recipes. I also want you to think about this as an eating adventure. You're on a culinary adventure. Embrace that sense of wonder and creativity and embrace a sense of curiosity. You have the opportunity to experience a whole set of new flavors and textures and foods, which is very exciting. And you might not like something the very first time that you try it, but the really cool thing is that our taste buds have the ability to change over time. So give yourself the opportunity to continue to try these variety of foods, and you might surprise yourself that after a few weeks or a few months, you develop a preference for something that you might not have enjoyed the taste of initially. You can also think of this as a way to focus on adapting some of the things that you already love. So think of the meals that you already really enjoy. And then as we talk about some of these new foods throughout these classes, consider how you might be able to tweak the recipes that you already love to add some of these foods that we're talking about in class. I really want to emphasize, and I think tonight's class drives this home, that eating whole plant foods does not have to be expensive and does not have to be time intensive. We can make meals that are quick and easy and still nourish our body and taste good, right? And I also fully believe that anybody can cook. That's what this class is all about, is really helping empower everyone with the skills and knowledge to take these whole plant foods and make them into delicious, easy meals on their plate. So if you're new to cooking, give yourself grace, be patient. It just takes time and practice. And I promise you, if you keep practicing along with us every month, you will surprise yourself by the end of this year. I also want to remind everybody, especially if you're new to adding some of these foods, to be kind to yourself and patient with yourself as you are learning new things, new culinary skills, or learning to enjoy new foods. Change takes time, and self-compassion. The research shows, the behavior change research is abundantly clear that when we practice self-compassion and kindness to ourselves, we're more likely to stick to a behavior than if we shame and guilt ourselves or have negative self-talk around that thing that we're trying to change. So be kind to yourself, and that will help you. It not only feels better, but it'll help you maintain the motivation and energy to make some of these changes. And remember that change takes time. That's okay. It's normal. Break your big goal into small, easy steps. And then anytime you accomplish one of those small steps, celebrate it. That helps maintain momentum, and it just makes the process a lot more enjoyable and fun. And then finally, focus on persistence over perfection. We're not talking about completely overhauling your way of eating overnight or necessarily sticking to what we talk about in class 100% of the time. The idea is that a majority of their time, you're prioritizing these plant foods when you're making food choices. And if you have days, you have weeks, or you have a month where that doesn't happen, it's okay. Again, practice that kindness and self-compassion and begin again. just try again. And that persistent focus is what matters the most. And there's a question about, let's see. Yes, plant-forward eating can be valuable for a variety of health conditions, including IBS. And if you're interested in learning more specifically about how plant-forward eating can help with IBS or how to manage IBS symptoms with lifestyle medicine, we actually have a lifestyle medicine class specifically for IBS folks. And you can email that lifestyle medicine at trinity-health.org email address and can share information on that class. Okay, so tonight we are going to review whole food plant forward eating. We talked about that last month, but some of you may not have been here, so we just want to review that quickly. We're going to talk through some formulas for building meals, and then I have some recipes that I want to demonstrate and a couple items that I want to do some show and tell with to highlight some easy, fast options. Okay, so our whole food dietary pattern, we saw this plate last week or last month. This is from the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, and this whole food dietary pattern can really be summed up as eating real food, mostly plants. So again, it's plant predominant, so we're trying to have most of our plate contain these whole plant foods. And when I say whole plant foods, I'm talking about things like lentils and beans, whole food soy like tofu and tempeh, nuts, seeds, things like our fruits and veggies, healthy fats like our avocados, olives, avocado oils, olive oils, whole grains in a variety of forms, water as our beverage, and then a lot of spices and herbs for our flavoring. And generally, we're trying to focus more on food versus food-like substances. So the least processed, the better, but we'll talk about processed food in a second. And then I want to emphasize this idea of this being a dietary pattern versus a diet. So we're looking at a lifelong way of eating versus a quick fix fad diet. So with I don't know if anybody's seen the new dietary guidelines, and there's a lot of hubbub and buzz in the news about processed foods and ultra processed foods, and it felt important to just have a conversation quickly about processed and ultra processed foods. Not all processed foods are created equal. Not all processed foods are evil, and many of them can be a source of wonderful nutrition and convenience, and they can be really cost effective. So they can be budget friendly too. And we're going to use a lot of those foods in tonight's class. So when you see processed food talked about in the news, I just want to remind you that the actual definition of processed food is really anything that's been altered from its natural state. So if you pick that apple and you slice it, that's a processed food. If you then turn it into applesauce, that's another step in the processing. And then if you turn it into a McDonald's hand pie, you have now turned that into an ultra processed food. So the processing is a continuum. A sliced apple or applesauce is going to be minimally processed, and those are the kinds of foods that we want to focus on filling our plate with versus that McDonald's apple hand pie, which is ultra processed and contains a lot of added sugars and fats that don't promote health. You can also visualize this with this spectrum here. So you can see on the left-hand side, we've got minimally processed foods. So like our canned foods, our frozen foods, our nut butters, things like that. And then on the right-hand side, we have things like sugary beverages, our white breads or sugary cereals, processed meats, things like that. So if we're focusing most of our intake on foods that fall in the green, yellow, and orange side of this dial, we're going to be focusing on the foods that are positively influencing our health. So when we're thinking about taking that whole food, plant forward, minimally processed dietary pattern and building a meal, this kind of framework I think can be helpful. So think about looking at your plate and thinking, okay, do I have a starchy carbohydrate like a potato or a winter squash or a whole grain, a serving of a whole grain? So one of those things, some high quality starchy carbohydrate. And then do I have a serving of at least one serving of a vegetable or a fruit? And then do I have some protein? Do I have some lean protein like beans, lentils, tempeh, or tofu? So really, those are the three things that we want to have combined together. And then we want to sprinkle in some healthy fats to help us absorb some of the vitamins that are in that meal, and some spices and herbs for flavor and added antioxidant value. So if you just think about this basic framework, I think that can be really helpful when you're like, what do I do to make a meal? Starchy carbohydrate or whole grain, vegetable, lean protein. And then I put some serving sizes on here, but I want to put a little asterisk next to those that all of our needs vary based on gender, age, and what health conditions we're dealing with, and how active we are. So these particular serving sizes may or may not be appropriate for you depending on where you are in your life circumstances. So this is when it can also be really helpful to have a conversation with a registered dietitian to help you kind of dial in and fine tune what is specifically best for you and your health goals. All right, so if we take this meal formula and we take the whole food plant forward framework and we combine it, this slide has some examples of what a fast, easy, budget-friendly meal could be. And these are some of the meals that we're going to make tonight together. So if we are feeling inspired by some Pan-Asian flavors, we could use a whole grain ramen packet, which is really easy to cook in the microwave in a bowl of water. We could buy some pre-shredded carrots or some frozen veggies and put that on top. Edamame, which is green soybeans that have been hulled. So the hulled edamame, you can microwave that for some great protein. Mix that all together, and maybe you throw some low sodium soy sauce on there for some seasoning. If you're more inspired by some Southern comfort food flavors, maybe you opt for a sweet potato as your starchy carbohydrate. You grab a can of low sodium collard greens and you pick up a package of pre-seasoned Chipotle style tempeh. And tempeh is also a soy food. It is mature soybeans that have been pressed together in a block and fermented, and it's really high in protein. It's also really a great fiber source as well. And there are many companies out there that pre-season the tempeh. So you could grab a packet of that for your flavor, and you microwave your sweet potato, you open your can of collards, and then you just dump in the tempeh, which you can eat right out of the package. And then there you go. You have a really fast, easy meal. If you have a soy allergy, that's such a good question. Canned beans and lentils are also wonderful protein sources, and we're going to talk through some of those. Nuts and seeds, particularly pumpkin seeds or pepitas. They're green. It's the hulled pumpkin seeds, so you're just getting like the meat of the pumpkin seed. Those are a really dense source of protein. I think a quarter cup is about 8 grams. Hemp hearts or hulled hemp seeds, 2 tablespoons of those is 10 grams of protein. So those are another wonderful source of plant-based protein. I've also started to see chickpea tempeh. So this brand, Light Life, is one of the brands that makes tempeh that you find in a lot of grocery stores around the country. They have started making a chickpea based tempeh. I think because, as you are probably getting at with your question, many people have soy allergies or soy sensitivities, so the chickpea tempeh could work for that. I want to point out that this chart is going to be on the class website, so if you want an easy tool to reference when you're trying to put together some meals, this chart will be available on the class website, and that'll get shared in our follow-up email. Another way of looking, oh, and Nancy, yes, chickpea miso. I use that in our house all the time because my husband cannot eat soy, and it is fabulous. So another way that you can think about kind of combining foods to make a fast, easy, quick meal is this idea of nourish bowls. This is also going to be on the class website for you. And I love this framework because it's really customizable. You just pick something in each of these categories and put it together based on what your preferences and mood or what's available in your pantry or your fridge. This could be a really nice tool. So that's going to be on the website for you as well. All right, we are going to start with 2 recipes that you can make in the microwave. Actually, all of tonight's recipes you can make in the microwave. We're going to do 1 salad, which you probably don't want to microwave. And all of our recipes can be made with just a paring knife or a pocket knife, a can opener, or if you don't have access to a can opener, you can make sure to purchase cans that have the pop top lid. So the only equipment you need for these recipes, microwave safe containers, a microwave, maybe a can opener, utensils to eat with, and then a paring knife or a pocket knife. So pretty simple. We are going to start with a sweet potato recipe. So this is 1 medium sweet potato. It was microwaved for, I think our microwave, it took 7 minutes. Depending on your microwave, they all vary. It's going to take between 5 and 10 minutes to get to a soft sweet potato. Before you microwave it, you want to either take a fork and poke holes all the way around it. I use the tip of our paring knife to just poke little slices in there. That is going to keep your sweet potato from exploding inside of your microwave and making a big mess. Poking those holes allows steam to release from the potato. So I'm going until my potato is just, I can kind of press into its flesh. I know it's soft. Slicing my sweet potato in half lengthwise. And not only is the sweet potato beautiful, but the orange color is providing a lot of beta carotene. That's what gives it this beautiful orange color. And beta carotene, there's growing evidence to support its role in cancer prevention and risk reduction. So wonderful antioxidant. We took a bag of, this is a, oops, let's see here. We've got a broccoli and cauliflower blend and steamed this. You can steam it in the bag. If you want to, always double check when you're purchasing your frozen veggies for cooking in the microwave that it says steam in the bag. Some bags are not designed for that and will melt. You can also take the contents out of the bag, pour them into a bowl if you don't want to microwave in here. So we are going to pour about half of our bag of our steamed veggies on there. We're getting lots of fiber in our brassica vegetables. We haven't talked too much about sulforaphane yet in this class this year, but we will talk about it often. And that is a compound that's found in cruciferous vegetables, so things like broccoli and cauliflower, and it helps it's an antioxidant, so it protects our cells from damage, and it helps our body's internal antioxidant fighting system ramp up. And so we produce a lot of compounds that protect our bodies when we consume sulforaphane as well. And it's been implicated in also reducing the risk for certain types of cancer. So not only delicious and beautiful, but doing good things for our body as well. I've got a can of black beans. So these are low sodium black beans that were drained. We're going to use about half of the can here. And remember, not only are we getting protein from these black beans, but we're getting a ton of fiber. And fiber is extremely important for not only keeping us full and satiated, it's what is feeding our good gut bacteria in our digestive system. So they can produce compounds like short chain fatty acids that are helping to support good immune function. They're helping to reduce neuroinflammation. So they're protecting our cognitive function, and they're helping ensure we have good bowel movements and like a regular digestive system. So fiber, very important. Fiber also helps with lowering our cholesterol as well. So lots of good benefits to our fiber. For some flavor, I've got a jar of salsa. If you're in a situation where you don't have access to a jar of salsa, you don't have something in your fridge, you're in a hotel, you could also see if the grocery store that you purchased these other items from has a grab and go section where maybe there's little hot sauce packets, and you could use that as your flavoring here. We had a jar of salsa, so I'm going to open that jar of salsa and just add a little bit of that on here. Okay. And so there you go. You've got a really fast, really easy, that's going to be a very filling meal. There's lots of fiber in there, and it's really bright and colorful. And that took like 5 minutes to make. We made that all in a microwave. And if we even with including the whole jar of salsa in our cost for that meal is about $3. So very affordable as well. All right, our next potato recipe that we're going to make is with a standard russet potato. So there's sometimes this conception that white potatoes, because they're white, are not as healthy for us as our sweet potatoes. And white potatoes are actually a really nourishing food, and they just have slightly different nutritional profile compared to our sweet potatoes. So don't be afraid to include white potatoes in your meal rotation, especially if you're leaving the skin. We're getting a lot of fiber, getting a lot of vitamins from this. And while our sweet potatoes, because they're deep orange color, they have those carotenoids like that beta carotene in them. Our white potatoes actually have a lot of vitamin C in them. So vitamin C, I think we think of like oranges, right, really commonly, but our white potatoes have a good proportion of vitamin C in them as well. So don't be afraid to eat the white potatoes, especially if they're not fried and they're minimally processed like this. So I'm going to cut it in half lengthwise again, just like my other potato. For cooking this russet potato, this took about 10 minutes in our microwave. Again, 5 to 10 minutes is kind of the general rule of thumb. Poked it, and I didn't say this before with the sweet potato, but I did wrap both of these in a wet paper towel to kind of prevent them from drying out too much. So poke holes all the way around, wrap in a wet paper towel, 5 to 10 minutes in the microwave, and you've got a nice cooked potato. So we're going with this white potato. We're going to do more of a kind of bolognese sauce situation. So we've got a can of Italian style diced tomatoes. I've got a can of lentils for our protein, and then a can of no sodium spinach. And I see there's a question, so we're going to pause real quick. Oh, there's a good question about green potatoes. If you ever see green on a potato, cut that away. That is where the potato has been exposed to the sun and it's developing chlorophyll. So that green is chlorophyll that you're seeing. There's also a compound. They're solanaceous. Potatoes are solanaceous. It's solan something. I'm blanking on the particular name, but it can be toxic if we eat too much of the green. So just make sure you cut that away. The rest of the potato is totally safe to eat. It's just, again, where it got exposed to the sun, it wasn't covered up with dirt when it was growing. So good question. Our white potato is here and ready for some toppings. So we are going to start with our lentils. I'm going to aim for at least a half a cup of lentils on here. Okay, so that's about right. So you have leftover lentils in here. That's less than half the can. So you can make multiple servings with the ingredients you have here on hand. I've got some spinach. We're gonna maybe take about half the can of the cooked spinach. I use canned greens like this often when I am needing something like running out the door. I need a quick veggie option. This is great to like throw in your desk drawer. I know it might seem a little silly, but to have at work if you need a shelf-stable vegetable option that you can just grab and you don't have to worry about refrigerating. You're getting a lot of fiber and magnesium and iron from your dark leafy greens. And then we're going to top this off with our diced Italian style tomatoes. And what I picked the Italian style because they have like oregano and basil in them. So not only are we getting some flavor and color from the potatoes and some sauciness to counteract the starchiness of this white potato, but we're getting some seasonings without having to purchase separately some additional spices and seasonings. And then if you want this warmed, because I think many of us enjoy warm meals, just pop this in the microwave again for another minute or two until it is the temperature that you want to enjoy it at. I would cover it with a paper towel because the tomato juices will splatter, and then you'll have a mess to clean up otherwise. If you have it in your cupboard, we talked about this a little bit in our pantry class, but nutritional yeast is a really nice way to kind of pasta meals or to popcorn, add a cheese-like flavor without having cheese. So it's kind of like a Parmesan cheese option. So you can just go ahead and sprinkle that right on top for some additional flavor and visual appeal. And then most nutritional yeast is fortified with vitamin B12. So you're getting some additional B vitamins as well. This meal, if we are taking into account the fact that we only used half of the ingredients we had, so you could make multiple servings, this would be about $2.35 per serving. So another really affordable, fast, easy option. Yeah, you can take this. Thank you. All right, so we're going to switch gears a little bit. And I should also say too, if you all have ideas, because I'm not the only one who has been in a situation where I needed a fast, easy meal. If you have ideas for like a whole food, fast, easy meal that can be made with minimal equipment, please throw those in the chat because we learn from each other too. And I know many of you who are watching probably also have really good ideas. So feel free to share those with the group. All right, so we did a couple potato options. What I showed you is just scratching the surface. You can do all sorts of different flavor combinations with those potatoes. So again, go to the class website and use those resources for inspiration of different flavor combinations and veggies and proteins you could throw on top of a potato. We're gonna shift gears and go to two quick recipes that are going to be using rice as our starchy carbohydrate foundation. So I have got, oh, never mind, I've got a fork right here. This is one of these 90-second rice packets. So I also really love having these on hand for again, if you need something shelf stable that's fast and quick and easy, you can, if you don't want to microwave in the packet, you can pull these out and microwave in your bowl. To microwave in the packet, you just rip this halfway, set it standing upright, and it says 90 seconds because it's 90 seconds in the microwave. You just kind of break it up and then you can pour it into a bowl. And there's about 2 servings per each one of these packets. So this is half of one of those packets right here. So we're starting with half a packet of the rice, and we are going to add in, this is a bag of vegetables, frozen vegetables. It's like a stir fry mix. So many grocery stores have frozen veggies, frozen stir fry veggie mixes, might look a little bit different than this. Just look for the ones that don't have added sauce. Sometimes the stir fry mixes already have seasonings and sauces in them, and more often than not, there's a lot of added sugar and sodium in them, and we want to try to minimize our added sodium and added sugar. So opting for ones that don't have sauce already on them can be a good option. So this one didn't. I'm probably going to use about half of this bag. So we're just gonna toss that on there, and it looks like we've got some green beans, some mushrooms, onions, some brassicas in there as well. Okay, so I used a little bit more than half of veggies. And then for protein, we talked about this a little bit already, but this is that edamame. So the shelled version of the edamame. Opting for the shelled option is you're gonna get more protein per volume in the bag. The shells aren't really edible. They're really tough and fibrous. Not gonna hurt you if you eat them beyond maybe making your tummy a little upset. But this shelled version is just quick and easier to eat. So I'm gonna probably go for about half a cup or more, depending on how hungry you are, of the shelled edamame. And then for flavor, if you're in a situation where you have access to your pantry, you could use some ground ginger. So I've got some fresh ground ginger here. Oh, this one hasn't been opened. So we're going to pretend. I'm sprinkling some ground ginger on here. And then I've got some coconut aminos. This is just a lower sodium and slightly sweet version of soy sauce. It's soy free. So for those of you who might need to avoid soy, a coconut aminos could be a really good option for you. You can also use a low sodium soy sauce or use a low sodium tamari if you need to avoid gluten, which is found in soy sauce. So we're just going to sprinkle a little bit of this on here, and this is going to add some sweetness and umami or savoriness and a little bit of saltiness as well. And then finally, if you have red pepper flakes, you can add that on here too. If you're in a situation where you don't have access to your pantry, again, if you check, if you went to the grocery store to pick up these items and you check the prepared food section, sometimes they have little salt and pepper packets along with like to-go utensils, so you could grab some salt and pepper and throw that on here as a quick and easy seasoning option. All right, our next rice bowl, we're going to take a little bit of time to actually cut something. So cucumber that was washed, I am just going to slice off. I'm going to wipe off the potato off my knife. There we go. I'm just going to slice off the ends. I told you low equipment, so we're not going to peel it because we're going to pretend we don't have a vegetable peeler. And I'm going to use probably about half of this cucumber. So I'm going to cut that in half. And I want to get some half moons because I just want a fun different shape. So I'm cutting it in half again lengthwise. Always making my claw with my non-knife holding hand, and I'm just slicing. So if you had a chef's knife, you'd maybe be making slightly different motions, but a paring knife works out perfectly for these kinds of meals. And if you are in a situation where you don't have a cutting board, you can easily do this on a plate with your paring knife. Okay. All right. So I've got my cucumbers. I'm going to grab my rice bowl here, and I'm just going to arrange my cucumbers on one side. I've got my starch, I've got my veggie there. Just kind of trying to break them up so the pieces aren't stuck together. And then we are going to also got a bunch of green onions. Again, optional if you don't have access to a fridge. The cucumber can stay out on the counter for a few days and be totally fine. The green onions, if you grab these and you need to leave them out of refrigeration, stick them in a cup of water and they will actually like start to grow a little bit more and that'll keep them fresh. All right, so my green onions, I'm just gonna trim off some of these kind of, I don't know if you can see how some of these pieces are a little dried out and wilty. We're gonna pull off those pieces here. Okay. And then I am just gonna slice off the dried off ends and just slice until I get probably a couple tablespoons, just enough to add some flavor. All right, there we go. Another fun fact about the green onions, you can slice all the way down to about 3 inches from the roots, and then stick the roots in a cup of water and they'll regrow. And you can get about 2 or 3 rounds of green onion tops from them. You can also use the whole green onion if you want to. The white is just a little bit more of an intense onion flavor than the green tops. So you got options. All right, so we have got our veggie, we've got our starch, we need a protein if we're thinking of our formula. So this is a shelf-stable tofu option. A lot of grocery stores have this. This is the more expensive piece of our meal. So this was about $4 to $5 at the grocery store for this. There's about 25 grams of protein in this whole package. So it's a decent amount of protein. You could, depending on your needs, split this into 2 servings. We're going to use the whole block for this particular meal. So you can see I cut the sides to help us open it a little bit easier, hopefully, and get it out of the package. So I'm just going to kind of open it up. And I'm going to try to keep it open in the package so I can slice it in this package and then put it out onto. There we go. Okay, so success with that. I'm just going to slice it in half and slice it into pieces that would make sense to fit on a fork. This was firm tofu, extra firm tofu. If you've worked with tofu before, this is not as firm as the stuff that you buy that's in the refrigerated section. It's more of a silken tofu consistency, so just keep that in mind if you have texture preferences. It's going to be a little bit softer. All right, so now that is going right on the plate. We are not cooking this. Tofu, you can eat just the way it is, like this. You don't have to cook it. All right. So, and we are going to zhuzh this up, make it look, can I have the aminos, please? By adding some of those coconut aminos on top. Okay. This might be, not where you are yet, but I really enjoy the taste of raw tofu just like that. So I would honestly eat it even without the coconut aminos on there. But that might not be where you're at yet. That's okay. We're going to sprinkle the green onions on top for some visual appeal and some additional flavor and enjoyment. And then for our cucumbers, we're doing a little bit of a quick pickle. So this also would require you to have some vinegar in your pantry, but just a little splash. That's probably a tablespoon, excuse me, of vinegar. Another thing that is nice to have on hand, and this is like if you're going on a trip and you need one or two, a couple seasoning blend options to take in your hotel room. I really like these rice seasoning blends. There is a little bit of added sugar in here, but there's some sesame seeds and a little bit of salt and some dried seaweed. So you're getting some fun flavors. If you like Asian flavors, I think this can be really nice on top of veggies like this cucumber and rice. So we're going to add some of that on there too. And then there you go. Voila. You have another fast, easy, almost kind of no cook meal beyond warming up that microwave packet. There's also, in addition to the microwavable rice packets, there are also frozen pre-cooked rice that you can find, like brown rice that you can find in your grocery store. Many different ones have it. So look for that if you also need another time saving option. And I've started to see some grocery stores have other grains like quinoa even cooked and in their freezer section. So you don't have to just do the rice if you want another grain option. Alrighty, we are getting down to our last two recipes. Oh, I didn't tell you how much that last one cost. Can I have the sticky note? Thank you. Okay, so with oh, no, the other one. Thank you. Yes. Okay, so with the tofu and not including the seasonings, that meal was a total of about $4. So still a really reasonable option. All right. Our last kind of savory meal before we do a breakfast option, we're going to do a quick salad. So this is a 5-ounce container of baby arugula. You could use any other kinds of green here that you want to. I chose these tubs over one of the bags because this gives you a bowl to eat from. And so if you don't have access to a bowl, this can be a really, really nice one. The other, like the bags, sometimes are a little bit cheaper. I think this was about $3. So if you have a bag of like shredded romaine or some of the other salad mixes out there, it might be slightly less expensive than this $3 thing of romaine. So you could opt for that if you didn't need the bowl to eat out of. So to this, we're going to do kind of a Mediterranean style salad. So I've got some chickpeas, so garbanzo beans. I'm going to do about half of the can, which is going to be a little over a half a cup. So I got that. And then I've got some beets. So this was, I think, a 70-cent can of beets, and there's no salt added to it. It's just beets and water. And these are going to add some sweetness, some good fiber, some color. We're also getting some compounds, betaine, which is really good for helping reduce blood pressure and help blood flow to our muscles. So for athletic performance, beets are good for that. And then for some salt and flavor and healthy fats, we've got these sliced olives. This whole can, I think, was like $2.50. So if you don't use the whole can, you can have some for another meal. And then I've got another canned veggie. This is a no salt added carrot. We're also getting some good fiber and beta carotene from these carrots. So it's just carrots and water. We're getting some sweetness from the carrots as well. I'm going to use about half the can here. So you have another meal's worth of carrot and beet to add. And there you go. You got a salad. If you have olive oil or some vinegar in your pantry, you could sprinkle that on top of here. I think the flavor from the beets and the salt from the olives can go a long way in adding flavor. So even if you don't have access to a dressing, you can still have a really tasty, dense and filling salad. All right, our last recipe that we are going to do, oh, that salad, if you eat that whole thing as is and save some of the chickpeas and beets and carrots for another serving, it's going to be about $4.50. All right, our last thing here, we are going to make a breakfast cookie. So this is something that, again, you can make in a microwave. It's nice, just like it's the same process as making a microwaved oatmeal, but we're just cooking it a little bit longer, and that turns it into a consistency that we can just take and eat as we're walking out the door instead of having to eat something with a spoon. So I'm going to show you how I made it, and then I'll show you what the final product looks like. We are going to take a ripe banana. You can find, but the nice thing about this recipe too is you can find bananas in corner stores. They're really prevalent. So if you have an instant oatmeal, plain instant oatmeal packet, or access to like a half cup of oats, and you can get yourself a banana, you can make this really easily. All right, so I'm gonna mash this banana until it's pretty smooth. And I'm really loving that the bowl is like very 80s. We got some fun colors in our bowl tonight. Like adds to the pizzazz of this breakfast cookie. All right, so we've got that banana, we've got half a cup of rolled oats. Again, you could use an instant oatmeal packet if you, a plain, so unflavored instant oatmeal packet, because our banana is going to be adding a lot of natural sweetness. Just trying to like get that all together. It's okay if, like me, you make a mess, you can clean it up. It's not a big deal. All right, so that looks pretty combined. I've got a quarter cup of raisins. So that's about one of those like mini boxes of raisins that I feel like a lot of times go in people's lunch boxes. You can skip those if you don't have them. We had them here, and so just using them for some additional sweetness and texture and visual appeal too. All right, and then last but not least, we are going to use a couple tablespoons of sun butter. You could use any nut butter you wanted here. So 2 tablespoons looks like about a golf ball. So if you don't have a measuring utensil, just think about a golf ball sized amount of nut butter. All right, and then we are gonna stir that all together. You can also feel like a lot of grocery stores, if you're out and you're getting ingredients for making something like this in a hotel room, for example, and you don't want to have a whole jar of peanut butter, I've seen a lot of little single serving packets, like squeeze packets for different nut butters. So that could be an option that you pick up, and you could use that in this recipe here. Okay, so that's all combined. And now what we're going to do is just kind of press all of this down flat into our bowl till it's kind of like nice and even. And then we microwave this for about 4 minutes until it is no longer like sticky and kind of a firm consistency. And I'll show you what that looks like. So we microwave it for about 4 minutes, let it cool. We take it out of the bowl, and it looks like this. So it is kind of like muffin-like consistency. And what's nice about this is, again, I can just take this and walk out the door and eat this while I'm driving, whatever it is that I need to do. I'm not trying to like you eat a bowl of oatmeal and then goop it all over myself in the car. This makes it really easy. If you, there's a lot of different versions of these oatmeal cookies. So if you have if you have access to your pantry at home, you could add things like flaxseed, you could add hemp hearts or pumpkin seeds for some additional protein in here. This is really a blank slate. The main ingredients that you need are the banana and the oats. If it's feeling a little too thick and it's not getting to the consistency that you want when you cook it in the microwave, you can add a few tablespoons of oat milk or soy milk, any kind of unsweetened non-dairy milk, or a couple of tablespoons of water if you don't have access to the milk. So pretty flexible. This we're making one of these, assuming that you have a tub of oats and peanut butter, and access to the raisins and everything. It's gonna be close to $1 to make one of these. So really, really affordable option. All right. We did it. We got through all the recipes, all the fast and easy ones. I wanted to show you two other quick things. So this, I want to make sure folks know that instant brown rice exists. So another time-saving tool. If you don't want to use those microwavable packets, you can cook the instant brown rice in the microwave as well. And this is going to be a more cost-effective option than those packets. So this, if you have space to store something like this and you need a fast option, you can opt for a box of this instant brown rice. Also, if you need a fast time-saving option, this is tempeh. So again, it's that whole food soy food that has been seasoned already. So there are many different flavors. This is a buffalo flavor, would have been appropriate for Super Bowl Sunday. You can buy the pre-seasoned ones, and then you don't have to worry about having spices or oils or things like that on hand. You could just put this right on top of your rice bowl or salad or whatever it is that you're making. I mentioned some of these resources from tonight are going to be on our class website. This is the class website. Let's see, I'm going to drop in the chat the link. So let me do that. I'll drop that in the chat. You can also scan that QR code if you would like. So if you click that link, that'll take you to the class website. I haven't published this week's resource page for this week's class. So look for that within the next couple days, but you'll see all the information from last month's class. If you missed it and you want to see the recording, there's a whole host of other resources on there. So start poking around and exploring. And I will, when I send the class follow-up email sometime before next Wednesday, you'll also receive a link to the class website. This is our schedule for the next few months. So just wanted you to have this in your mind so you know what we're going to be covering. Next month, we are going to be talking about easy breakfast options. So we'll have some fast and easy options and some that are a little bit more involved, but all are going to be plant-based, all are going to be delicious to help you start your day off right. And then another reminder, if you are a Trinity colleague, to email that lifestylemedicine@trinity-health.org email address so I can make sure to get you your points for your lower insurance rate. And then here is our contact information. So if you have any questions, if you want to explore more of the lifestyle medicine classes that we offer, that website is a great place to go. You can email us, and if you're on social media and you want to follow along with what we're doing on Instagram, you can find us at Trinity Health Lifestyle Med AA, and we would love to have you following along with our journey. Ernie, thanks for the positive feedback on the breakfast cookie. It is very delicious. I used to eat a lot of them. They're nice with some nut butter spread on top of them as well. So if you try it, please let me know what you think. And if any of you have feedback on the class, if you try any of these recipes and you want to take a picture or tell me all about it, I would love to hear. So please don't hesitate to reach out via email and tell me how things are going. And if I don't hear from you, I look forward to seeing you next month. We'll be back in this kitchen, and that's March 11th, 6:30, same time. And we'll, like I said, be talking all about breakfast. So hope everyone has a wonderful evening and a wonderful month, and happy cooking. Take good care, everybody.